Next area I wanted to talk about is compensation. All right, I'm going to use, I'll pick on him. He's been our waiter at the restaurant before. Is there anybody in here that can tell me how hard he can work? He looks like a, stand up. Let's give him a good. Turn around, all right. Strapping young man. How hard can he work? Anybody got a clue? Who wants to take a shot?
As hard as he wants to.
Okay, hard as he wants to.
I like it.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll take it.
There you go. So, but how hard can he work? Is there anybody in here that knows how hard he can work? There is. There's exactly one person who knows how hard he can work. Him. Right? That's really the only person that has the answer to that question. Right? If this building suddenly caught on fire and we had to get out of it, we're going to have to yank one of these chairs out of here to go busting through a wall or the glass or something like that. I doubt if he'd be too much of a mood to do that right now, right? But if his life depended on it, suddenly he might find a little more motivation, a little more energy, right? Or he might work longer and harder to get that done. So how hard can he work? Only he knows. And what's the key to unlocking that ability? What's the key to unlocking that ambition? Okay?
Putting yourself in a flaming building.
What's that?
Putting yourself in a flaming building.
Well, that's a more dramatic way of doing it. We don't always want to have a flaming building. Let's try some less dramatic ways first, and we'll see how that works. But part of it is compensation. Part of it is how you reward people, how you tap into the ambition, how you tap into their natural ambition that they've got within them. And sometimes it is possible, actually, that he doesn't know how hard he can work. There are times, you know, you've heard the stories of a mother lifting a car off of a kid or a child or something like that. There are times that maybe we do have more inside of us than we would have ever possibly thought. All right? You might be in an educational program. I felt like my doctorate program did this with me. I was able to dig deep and I was able to find things I had no idea I could do. Any of you been in any sports where you know, whether it's a collegiate sport or something like that, where you go in there and they just start grinding and working and they're just take you to levels you would have never imagined that you could have gone. Okay? So it happens a lot. It can happen all over the place. So what are the different types of compensation programs? Now, before we get to compensation, there are other motivational approaches, right? Treating people nice, leadership, motivational techniques. There's a lot of things you can do other than just money. And a lot of people, there's a lot of surveys that will show you that money actually ranks down on the list a little bit. But my experiences are that you've really got to handle this. I mean, for the long term, you got to handle compensation. You got to do it well. So there are three types of approaches to compensation. You got your traditional, which is what a lot of us end up working for, is kind of more the hourly or the salary. A lot of the professors, a lot of the people that work on this campus and this university probably work in more traditional compensation programs. All right. Then there are incentive-based. You think about incentive-based, you think about Wall Street, you think about, let's see, you just got a job in real estate today, didn't you?
Yes.
Just today, why? How will you be compensated?
Commission.
Commission, right? Curtis, you were in that for
Yep.
a while, right? And it's pretty much strictly commission.
It is.
You didn't get a check every
Nope.
2 weeks, did you? You know, so that's clear over on this end of the spectrum. The traditional hourly and base stuff is clear over here. Well, there's a hybrid. Okay, there's a hybrid where you put both of those together, and that's kind of where we have our sales force that works for us. They do have a base salary that they get, but then most of their income they're going to earn on an incentive program where they get commissions. They're probably going to earn, in most years, probably about 70% plus is going to be on the commission side of the business. Now, that's our sales force. Our parts people that work in our business, that work behind our parts counter, they'll earn about probably 80 to 90% of their money will be on the traditional hourly or salary basis. And then our administrative people will earn about 100% of theirs. Now, we have tried to find some ways to incentivize and to do some of those things, but we always run into challenges when we do that. In traditional sales positions, it's a lot easier to do. So the only way we're going to figure out how hard he can work is we got to get him the right incentive plan. We got to get the right compensation plan and the right motivations for him. Now, I do make a note here is be careful, because there can be a difference between incentives and disincentives, and they can be razor thin, and they can even change over time. All right, so we have always had to watch when we do compensation and incentive packages to make sure that these things don't kind of flip to the dark side on us, because it is possible. You'll have something that you think is going to be a really good incentive for people, and I will just guarantee you, anytime you put these systems together, and it doesn't make people bad necessarily, but everybody's going to try to find a way to game the system. It just happens. And so if you have any weaknesses in these things, if you have any flaws in them, it's going to be like water getting out of a hole in a balloon. Eventually it's going to find its way. All right. Now, one of the things that we do in all of our incentive programs is we tell our folks it's got to be 4 wins for it to last. It's got to be 4 wins. It's got to be a win for us as the company. It's got to be a win for them as the employee, and it's got to be a win for our customers. And it's got to be a win in our situation for our major manufacturer, which is Case IH, because they're the ones who are paying a lot of our bills for us since they're our major product line. So we got to have those 4 wins. If you don't, it doesn't mean the thing won't work for a while. Has anybody ever been out of adjustment a little bit, about a half a click off, and you need to go to the chiropractor and you're just kind of cinched up a little bit? That's the way it is with a compensation program that isn't quite right. All right? It'll work for a while, but eventually it's going to come down. It's going to fall down around your ankles. So you got to watch that. You got to. So what we do is all of our incentive programs we do, they are yearly programs, and we tell our people pretty much guaranteed something's going to change every year. Now we try not to change any more than we have to. We try to keep as much of it. We got some base parts of it that rarely change, and then we got some other components of it we're always mixing and matching a little bit. And part of the reason we do that is so it is fluid enough to where we're able to kind of change it around and address any of the shortcomings, address any of the weaknesses of it. Okay. Now, remember I talked about the 2-ton rock? That's part of how you deal with 2-ton rocks is you just keep kind of chipping away at them. You keep busting them up before they get too big. Same thing if you think about roots with a tree. You know, those roots shoot down. If you let them get kind of hooked in, wrapped around pipes, that tree isn't going anywhere. You're not getting that thing out of there, right? So you always have to keep kind of jiggling and shaking your organization a little bit so people don't get too rooted into the way things are done. So conditions are going to change. You got to tweak these programs over time, but you always have to be looking at what does it take to motivate this lug to get him to work as hard as he can possibly work. Right? Mm-hmm. Next time I come to the restaurant, I'm expecting that out. All right? We tipped him well that night. That helps. So, all right? Okay. Any questions or comments I can answer on that?